The next story we have here now is about the Deus Ex film. For anyone who played Deus Ex: Human Revolution, there's actually gonna be like a movie like based on this, and specifically it's gonna have like Adam Jensen in it, like the character Adam Jensen, and the screenwriter during Comic-Con actually, he was quoted here saying like how how like the movie is going to have like the same beats and like the same character from like the last game that came out. But like how there's going to be like some freedom as far as like how the story plays out. So it's not going to be like a direct iteration of of like the game. And Eidos Montreal, like the studio who was behind like the last Deus Ex game, have like confirmed also like about like how they're okay with the film breaking away from like the game's canon. So just being like its own separate thing and not directly in terms with the story from the games. How do you guys feel about this decision to break away from the canon?
Well, I mean, I'm okay with them breaking away from the canon as long as the general story is still told. It was a very good story. It was an awesome story. I played the first Deus Ex back in 2000 or 1999, I do believe, back forever today ago. And it was one of those groundbreaking, game-changing games, at the time. And that story was awesome. Definitely played Human Revolution. It was a very good story. And there are liberties that can always be taken. It doesn't have to be the exact same progression.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as the same high points are still hit, I think it'd be all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know anything, or I really don't know that much about the games, very little. But from the standpoint of doing a movie, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as like things with canon goes, honestly, like it's a bad move to me. It's a bad move to like change like the first movie you're ever going to do about a major like popular brand or just a name in general. Like don't change it. If you're going to do it for what it's worth the first time. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't work, try something different. Like it's honestly because it's like the people who played the first game. Guess what? They're going to go see the movie.
Well, there are some major plot points that if they change them,
yeah,
it's a huge thing. And there are points of it that if they do change it, then it doesn't really matter.
If I played Deus Ex, the first game, and fell in love with it, and somebody said they're going to make a movie of it, to me, I would want to go see a movie of this thing that I played that I can understand, relate to. But that's just me. Some people might not care that it's a different story. But like to me, as if I was that gamer, going to see it.
Well, I mean, it depends on, are they making this film to appeal to the gamer, or are they making this film to appeal to the masses?
I would say it's the masses.
And essentially that goes into most arenas, like especially the comic book arena, because we all have our own opinions about movies whenever it comes to that. But as far as games go, it's like, I feel like it's the same token because, it's nice to appeal to the masses to kind of, get
be inclusive.
Be inclusive, get a new audience because, obviously the gamers they're always going to understand. But it's like one of those things, it's like, I think the first people you should pay homage to are the gamers, in my opinion. If you're really going to do a movie about something that big, give fan service to the people who actually put time and money into doing it.
It's a real tightrope, like to walk on, really, like in order to like appeal to like the gamers as well as like to like your general moviegoers. I mean, like we saw like what happened with like with like the Hitman movie or also like Max Payne movie, like how badly that they've gone away. Just
every video game movie in history.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. But just how much that they deviated away from like the source material, and and not be like successes because like they didn't cater to to the audience that they should have been catering first and foremost, just like how you said, Quan.
Yeah, Resident Evil is a really big one, and I hate that too because it's like I love a lot of the story that goes with it, and it's just like they taper off from so much of the actual story that it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, if there's no reason to change it, don't change it.
Yeah.
I understand certain things that don't work.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to have 6 boss fights in a movie unless you're Scott Pilgrim.
Yes.
I mean,
it's just sometimes I think that like a lot of people who produce movies go through major extremes to make it so different that it's like totally different from the original thing. It's like how it's almost like it's not even the same thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's something totally new and different.
The Legend of Chun-Li.
Yeah. Which that's great.
Why must you remind me of that every time?
Because we should never forget.
don't change it to the point where people won't understand it that have loved it to begin with. Like, that's great that you want to get a new audience, but it's like, why don't you start with what people loved in the first place about it?
Right.
Then if that doesn't work, try something different. You know, like don't do that. Don't do that to the fans, the people that like love it, because
There's no reason to start off wildly divergent.
yeah. I mean, changing some things is fine because you can't. Like he said, not everything's going to be the exact way it was in the video game. But
It would be ridiculous to expect that.
yeah,
You know?
but I mean, we're not talking like Mario Brothers where they changed literally everything. The only two things you understood were Mario and Luigi. Everything else was totally different.
The screenwriter here seems like he is confident enough as far as like keeping like with like the same beats. I mean, I'm okay with them deviating like away from the story, like at least from the games and everything. But as long as they keep like, with the same kind of like beats that like made what Deus Ex be Deus Ex, and just like make it like their own story on, like make it like an alternate timeline Adam Jensen type of story. I'd be all for that. Like, as long as you kind of keep with the general feel of what those games are all about, it should be good.
I mean, you have to play it, but it's very toned. It's very, I mean, it's like you're almost circling the drain the entire time. Like, It's one of those things, like, you're just on this cusp of something horrible. But you're just right on the outside of it. You can't quite get to the middle of it. That
Conspiracies, mass hysteria, like all that stuff.
It's so, the line is so awesome. It's good.
And
really good.
They brought up, me and him were talking about, references as far as the game goes. That I can understand, like we said, Blade Runner and Ghost in the Shell and stuff we could compare it to, and that's like, that gives me a way better perspective about how the game runs. And that's the thing, kind of cool, because science fiction is one of those things that you can do a lot more with because you don't actually have to stick with the script all the time. You have the liberty of changing stuff because it's science fiction. It's not like you don't have to pull directly from canon.
Well, it's not like, somebody's real life or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bio.
Not science fact.
With the idea,
it may be soon.
And the idea of them pulling from, the canon to make their own story, that I can understand that. I can go see a movie like that because it's like, okay, so you're making something different. At least you're pulling from the source material and not something random. That's fine. I can deal with that because even though I haven't played the game, I'm still going to go see a brand new movie that I don't know anything about yet, because I don't know
the story and everything.
I don't have any expectations. I'm going in there just going to see a movie.
Right.
As opposed to where if he goes, he's going to know all these aspects from the game where he's going to
the reference,
Yeah, the stuff that they're going to probably throw in Easter eggs for stuff and
fan service.
Yeah, he's got fan service, and that's essentially what I'm saying. It's for people that are fans of it, it's cater to them first. Even if the references always cater to them first, because it's you're doing them a disservice because they're the ones that got into it in the first place,
Ross, it needs the yellow tint, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know.
I mean, because that's kind of a very distinct look of the game too, at least of the last game.
That's the tone part of it, though. That's getting the feel right, because it's very yellow. It's very odd. Very odd. Neither here nor there. But I mean, it was very different. But it also had the architecture style, and the design style. It's very jagged, very very sharp.
Yeah.
All these very when you think futuristic, that kind of thing. Some of that is in. That's very different.
Well, it's the same thing. Thinking about Tron and how the Matrix is, how it's very, how they stylize everything to look like that. Tron. Bright lights, dark, moody. It's just that kind of makes sense. You're having technology, a lot of straight lines, a lot of buildings, a lot of constructs. It just makes sense,
In a lot of ways, I want to say that the Deus Ex film has to look somewhat what I would imagine a new RoboCop to look like, which could be very perilous in a way because there is a new RoboCop being made. So. You also don't want to take too much from it, but more cyberpunky,
Because RoboCop is he's the only person that's augmented. Deus Ex has more people that are augmented.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's a mass populace kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very weird.
I see what Dave's trying to say though. With RoboCop.
Yeah, like it could be real close. To
Yeah, because essentially if they're remaking.
Well, and he is a cop, so
Yeah,
Adam.
That's
Jensen.
right, exactly. He is a RoboCop.
Yeah, I mean, RoboCop essentially could be like, you never know. They could go a totally different direction with RoboCop and make it something more like Deus Ex.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, anything is possible with that kind of thing. So they're remaking all of these older films. So
Nothing original anymore.
Of course not.